Welcome back, everybody, to Pittsburgh Pirates franchise here on MLB The Show 20. As today, our Pirates really dive in here to season number 2. Currently, we're 7-5, playing pretty good baseball up to this point. Tied for first in the NL Central. Today, we're going to go over the minor league opening days, as well as a Pirates game we'll be facing off against the St. Louis Cardinals. So first, we're going to look at the AA team, the Altoona Curve. And this roster looks very different than it did a season ago. A lot of the players on the AA roster were traded during the offseason and minor league swaps. We got a bunch of new players here. We signed a bunch of new guys as well on minor league contracts, most of whom are in AA. Sean Humber, he was a second-round compensatory pick. He'll be the team's best player, and there are some pretty good prospects here. Liover Peguero, Jose Suarez, of course, the big name, Santiago Osuna, the number 7 overall pick in last year's draft, 64 overall with 98 potential. The number 11 overall prospect in baseball, the second in the Pirates farm system. I think that is a little bit disrespectful for him, though. I think he has more upside than Dylan Carlson, who is ranked higher on this Pirates squad. There's also Mickey Moniak, former number 1 overall pick of the Phillies, hasn't quite developed. Quinn Priester, a first-round pick a couple years ago. Brennan Malone. And then a few guys who we signed in the offseason who have some upside, like Michael Gonzalez, Leonard Iguchi, and then way down below at 46 overall, Manuel Medrano. So as you can tell, this roster looks quite different. And here's a look at the lineups. The only position players who are back are Mickey Moniak, Liover Peguero, and Bly Madras, and that's it. Literally, the rest of the roster is, or at least the rest of the position players are different. The pitching staff, for the most part, is quite similar, however. As here's a look at both lineups. There's also Sean Bush down there, who was picked in the 4th round, I want to say, last year. Has some nice upside, but is quite raw. The other talented minor leaguers like Luis Nieto, Osvaldo Duarte. And then looking at the rotation, the ace will be Santiago Osuna. The rest of the rotation will be Jose Suarez, Cody Bolton, Quinn Priester, and Brennan Malone. Here's the bullpen. The setup men will be Bo Susler, who was the closer last year, and Leonard Iguchi. And then the closing pitcher this year will be Joel Cesar. Cesar was one of the setup guys last year, and he was quite good. So in this closer role, I'm curious to see what numbers he ends up putting up. Without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Opening day here for the minor leagues here at Barnes Canyon Ballpark, as the Curve will be taking on the Harrisburg Senators, the AA affiliate of the Washington Nationals. Here's a look at both lineups for tonight's game, 1-9. And on the mound for the Curve would be none other than Santiago Osuna, the number 7 overall pick from the Dominican Republic. Only 18 years old. He has so much upside. He's a little bit raw. He has a few years to go, but he has ace potential. And his first batter is a pretty successful one. Weak ground out to short. Peguero does make the play. That's hopefully the first of many outs for Santiago Osuna. Here's DeAndre St. Louis, the next batter, ripping a single into center. Santiago Osuna does allow a few too many hits here and there, but as I said, he is a little bit raw. Here's Drew Mendoza, who in a game last year against the Curve went yard twice. That's going to be a fly out over to right. And Osuna's first inning, I would say, is pretty successful, as it's Will O'Donnell on the mound for the Senators. 25 years old, and he is totally bald. Ouch. First batter of the season for the Curve, Mickey Moniak. He's going to get that one into left, and it is going to be caught. Moniak, as I said, one of the few players on last year's AA roster who is back this year. As there's a nice strikeout for Santiago Osuna, striking out Alec Keller. And then Carlos Leal will also go down swinging as well. Here is Rod Penn, the next batter. That one is placed nicely into right, and that will be a double. He's awfully close, and he is going to be gunned down at second. Rod Penn a little bit too aggressive there on the base pass. As we move to the bottom of the second, here is Sean Humber launching a bomb in our right field, and that one will go over the fence, and the Curve are on the board. Humber, of his first home run of the season, he might be a little bit too talented for AA right off the bat, but, you know, that is where he is going to start, I guess. As there is a nice placed ball, shop and gap. That is Jesse Medrano. He's going to find third for a triple. Just like that, the Curve have a runner 90 feet away from home. 2 outs now for Freddie Furman, the catcher. That ball is hit awfully high, higher than J.R. Smith during Game 1 of the 2018 NBA Finals. But it would be caught out and left by DeAndre St. Louis as we move to the third inning. Believe it or not, that is actually Will O'Donnell. Pitchers can hit too, ladies and gentlemen. And that'll be a double for O'Donnell. But unfortunately for the Senators, they will not be able to drive them in, as DeAndre St. Louis would strike out. And we move to the bottom of the third. Speaking of pitchers getting base hits, Santiago Osuna, in his first double-A at-bat, rips a single into left center. So both pitchers are 1 for 1 today. Both pitchers have a batting average this season of 1,000. And Osuna's career batting average is now 1,000. Would he be able to score? Maybe, just maybe, as it's Osvaldo Duarte dropping a single into center field. Santiago Osuna would score, and the Curve make it 2-0. Runners on the corners. 1 out for Sean Humber, laying down the lumber. As Sean Humber, with his second home run of the game, 413 feet. And the Altoona Curve will make it 5-0. Will O'Donnell can hit better than he can pitch. And the inning would come to an end almost. Rod Penn makes a nice play at second. We move to the fourth. Here's J.J. Burke up for the Senators. First batter of the inning. Barely gets that ball past the glove of the second baseman, Ryan Jorgensen, for a single. And then the next batter, he will rip a single into left. That is Drew Mendoza. So that'll put 2 on, no outs. And that ball is going to be a base hit for Alec Keller. Run coming home. The throw at the plate is not in time. And the Harrisburg Senators will make this game a little bit closer, but they're not done yet. Next batter, Carlos Leal, gets that one into right field. Another run comes home to score. And now it is 5-2. The Curve need an out, and they're going to get one as Rod Penn strikes out. However, the fun is going to stop for Altoona. That's the outfielder Andres Quintana with a single as we move on to the 6th inning now. Not a whole lot of action these past couple of frames. And the Curve do get the out there. That would end Santiago Osuna's day. 6 innings, 3 earned runs. Not too shabby, and we move to the bottom of the 6th. The Senators rocking with a pitching change of their own. Frankie Bartow, the 23-year-old, entering. Here is Sean Humber, already 2 for 2 of 2 dingers. Not going to make that 3 for 3. He's going to strike out on the outside changeup. And then here's Jesse Medrano, next batter. That ball is down the line and fair. Nice play at third from Drew Mendoza. But Medrano is going to be safe at first. 2 outs, 2 on now for Freddie Furman. He has quite the opportunity, but he will fly out to the left. St. Louis makes the catch, and the score remains 5-3 as we advance to the 7th. Michael Gonzalez is in now for Altoona, an international free agent signing this offseason. His first appearance with the Pirates organization is he's going to get a nice strikeout right there. Now here's J.J. Burke with a runner on and 2 outs. That ball placed into right. Nice hustle from Bly Madris to make the play, and we move to the bottom of the 7th. The 34-year-old Javi Guerra is in for Harrisburg, as here is Sean Bush, the pinch hitter, going to lead off the inning. Gets that one to deflect off of the third baseman, Mendoza, but Bush is able to use his speed and get a base hit off of that one, as that would later bring up Osvaldo Duarte with 2 outs. He will strike out, and we advance to the 8th inning. Leonard Iguchi, the native of Japan, will enter, another international free agent signing from this offseason. As here's Drew Mendoza, first batter of the inning, gets that one to short. Leover Peguero is very lackadaisical there at shortstop. What I mean by that is he is just not really hustling for the ball, and because of that, Mendoza is going to be safe at first. Here's Carlos Leal. He's going to strike out. So runner on, 2 outs for Rod Penn, and that ball is going to be dropped by Mickey Moniak. So now 2 runners in scoring position, 2 outs. Quite the at-bat here for Andres Quintana, and he will capitalize. Single into left field. Run headed home to the plate, and the throw from Moniak is going to be in time. So while Harrisburg does score 1, they are not able to drive in a second, and they are unable to tie the game up as we move now on to the top of the 9th. Joel Cesar in for the save. The 24-year-old Dominican Republic native, he will get a nice strikeout there on Alexis Rivas, and then DeAndre St. Louis. That slider was nasty. To end the inning, not quite, J.J. Burke rips a single. So 2 runners on, 2 outs. For Drew Mendoza, he rips a single in the left. The bases are juiced. 2 outs, 1-run game, top of the 9th for Alec Keller. Quite the at-bat for him, and he will strike out. The Harrisburg Senators leave them loaded, as it is going to be the Altoona Curve who get the win. Very solid performance from Santiago Osuna. He gets the win. Will O'Donnell gets the loss, and Joel Cesar will get the save. Here's a look at the box score multi-hit games for Jesse Medrano and Sean Humber. Humber with 2 dingers. He drove in 4 RBIs. Duarte had the other one. Osuna, outside of the 4th inning, I think pitched quite well. The bullpen was a little bit shaky. Iguchi didn't pitch particularly well. Neither did Joel Cesar. But you know what? A win is a win, and you cannot complain. As now we gear our focus to the AAA team, the Indianapolis Indians. A few more top prospects on this roster than the AA team. There are a few losses, guys like Dylan Carlson, O'Neal Cruz, now the big league squad. But the Indians are led by Benny Lang, the second-round pick in last year's draft, 73 overall, only 18 years old, a native of Japan. There's also Lazaro Armenteros, a midseason acquisition last year. He was pretty solid with the Indianapolis Indians once he was traded from the Oakland A's organization. Of course, Brian Hayes, he fought for a roster spot during spring training, was not successful, so he's going to be back here in the minor leagues. A few other talented guys, Adonis Medina, Domingo Robles. And then there are a few former Major League veterans who are trying to really revive their careers here in AAA. Jake Lamb was signed this offseason. Aaron Sanchez was signed this offseason. Also, don't forget about Travis Swaggerty. He was the top prospect on the AA team last year. He has moved up. There's also Tim Beckham. Beckham was a guy who I wanted to start the season with the majors. He played well in spring training. He played well after we signed him last year. But because of just unseen circumstances with guys being unable to be sent down because of the Rule 5 draft or having all their minor league options used, Beckham has to start the season here in AAA. Chances are he will get called up soon if the Pirates, or if we go ahead and make a trade within the near future involving some major league player. And Beckham would be the first guy who we would call and bring him back up to the bigs. So here's a look at the lineup here for the start of the season. Certainly a few talented guys. I think this AAA squad's going to win some ball games this year. Last season, we were about 10 games under 500. But I think the Indians are going to play well next year. Or I guess this year now. So I could see a playoff berth in this team's future. Now, obviously there will be changes to the roster. Guys will be sent up. Guys will be sent down. Trades will be made. But I think this roster is really talented the way it is. And I think it's confidence for the Major League squad, the Pirates, that we have talented players in AAA who could always call up. And obviously for right now, we can watch these guys win ball games, whether the Major League team contends or not this season. So here's a look at the rotation. Quite talented. Obviously, some higher-level prospects like Medina and Robles. The other talented players in there, Wei-Chun Wang, Brian Ayala, and, of course, Aaron Sanchez trying to revive his career. The bullpen is also solid, led by Dovydas Neverauskas, who was with the Major League team last year. Didn't play too bad. He's another guy who I probably will have back up at the bigs sometime this season, depending on his AAA play. So the opponent is the Toledo Mudhens, the AAA affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. Here's a look at both lineups in this game, 1-9. On the mound for the Mudhens would be Xiao-Ching Chang. If you remember last year's minor league opening day, the Indians did play the Mudhens. Xiao-Ching Chang was on the mound, and he absolutely dominated. 9 shutout innings. He allowed only 2 base hits or something. So I guess the Indians kind of want revenge, as the first batter of the inning, Travis Swaggerty, would ground out. A lot of ground outs to second base in this game for Travis Swaggerty. Here's Brian Hayes, the next batter, the top prospect on the AAA roster. That ball is hit high and deep in the left. That one is going to drop at the wall for extra bases. A ground rule double for Brian Hayes. Good start to his minor league season after struggling in spring training. He would not be able to score, however, as Will Craig right there would strike out. And we move to the bottom of the first. Adonis Medina on the mound. He was acquired in a midseason trade last year with the Philadelphia Phillies in exchange for JT Riddle and a few other guys. as one out here for Tristan Lutz. Gets that one into right, and the Mud Hens have an early base runner. Maybe they can drive him in, or maybe not. Arden Pabs, part-time ball player, full-time sniper. The catcher, Pabs, guns him down at second, and then Raul Mota will strike out as we move on to the top of the second. Here's Jake Lamb. You may recognize this name from the Diamondbacks franchise last year, World Series MVP in Season 3. He does strike out. And then here's Tim Beckham. I have the feeling before he gets called up to the majors, he is going to absolutely rake here in AAA. And Beckham going to slide into second for a double. Can he be driven in? Yes, he will. It's Tebow time, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Tebow with a double into right field. And the Indianapolis Indians are on the board. We move to the bottom of the second. Frank Schwindel, the designated hitter, will strike out. And then on to the bottom of the third, here's John Nunez. He's just a window shopper. Say it with me, kids, because he's just looking. And then Royce Lewis, former number 1 overall pick of the Twins, is going to strike out. Lewis was traded at the beginning of last season for another top prospect, Riley Green, as there is Tim Beckham striking out. We move to the bottom of the fourth. Christian Stewart, a guy who has some major league experience, once a top prospect with the Tigers, has sort of fizzled out a little. He's going to get a single, but it's not going to matter as there is a strikeout. That was Joel Lugo, another guy in the Tiger organization who has some major league experience striking out. Here is Travis Swaggerty going to go down swinging. John Nunez, the catcher, goes down as well. So we got a strikeout parade here in Toledo, Ohio. Tristan Lutz also going to strike out as we move on to the sixth. Score remains 1-0. Here's Cabrian Hayes. Rips it at third. Nice play by Raul Mata to rob him of a base hit. Speaking of Mata, he will strike out. Adonis Medina is red hot right now, and we move to the seventh. Casey Mize on the pitch. The Mud Hens have him in the bullpen for whatever reason. Mize, a top prospect in this organization. The number 1 overall pick in the 2018 draft. We're seeing all the number 1 overall picks today. Moniak, Lewis, Mize. Now we just need to find Adley Rutschman somewhere, as there is a nice play at short from Royce Lewis. And now later, in the top of the seventh, runner on for Tim Beckham, who, funny enough, was also selected number 1 in his respective draft all the way in 2008 by the Rays, pretty sure, as Beckham goes deep. And just like that, it is now 3-0. The Indians will extend their lead. Beckham drives in another run. I believe that was Armenteros who scored. And the Mud Hens are going to get right to work here in the bottom of the seventh. Brandon Dixon goes deep into left. And now it is 3-1. The Mud Hens trying to get back in it. The Indians dugout not too thrilled with that one. And then here's Jacoby Jones now. Gets that one over the glove of Jake Lamb. That'll be extra bases for Jones, sliding into second safely. And you got to wonder, when are the Indians going to consider a pitching change? There's John Nunez drawing a walk, and Adonis Medina's day would end. He pitched very well, 6 shutout innings, then the 7th one sort of fizzled out. Clayton Andrews, 5'6", 160 pounds. He is tiny. Going to be entering the game here for Toledo. This is his first year in the organization, so he is new. As here is Royce Lewis. That's going to be a base hit. And now the bases are juiced. 1 out for Tristan Lutz. He's going to strike out. Then Raul Mata would hit a 2-run single, but of course that clip decided not to save. As here is Frank Schwindel. He will barely be out at first. The inning's finally over. But the Mud Hens tie it up at 3 as we move to the 8th. Here is Cabrian Hayes. Top prospect on top prospect. And once again, Hayes being robbed of a base hit. It's Joel Lugo making the play at second for the out. And then here's Benny Lane. He's had a quiet day. He will draw the walk. So that'll put a runner on here for Will Craig. Craig is going to rip it into center. However, it would be caught by Jacoby Jones. And we move to the bottom of the 8th. Daniel Procopio is in for the Indians. Another guy making his debut for the organization. He's going to strike out Brandon Dixon, and we move to the 9th. Game tied at 3. There's Lazaro Armenteros. He's going to strike out. And then we move to the bottom of the 9th. Royce Lewis goes down looking, and that means we are headed to extra innings on to the 10th. Mudheads would make a pitching change. In for Casey Mize would be Zach Houston. the 25-year-old righty, 6'5", 260. He's a big boy. As his first batter, Tim Tebow, will draw a walk. So that'll quickly put a runner on here for the Indians, bringing up Arden Pabst, and that is going to be a double play. Lewis steps on the bag, throws it to first in time for the out. 2 gone now for Travis Swaggerty. That's a single into right. So maybe the Indians can do a little something here. Brian Hayes up at the dish. Weak grounder to short. Lewis flips it to second. And we move on to the bottom of the 10th inning. Dino Salas is acquired in a trade this offseason with the Washington Nationals. As here's Tristan Lutz. That one went right down Main Street, and he is just going to look at it. Here's Raul Mata. That ball will go into right for a base hit. And just like that, the winning run is aboard for Frank Schwindel. That ball is shop and gap. I don't think any of the outfielders can get to it in time. And the Toledo Mudhens will win off of a walk-off double for Frank Schwindel as Mata scores safely with ease. And even though the Indians were up 3-0 at one point, it is the Mudhens who come back and win. The bullpen chokes for Indianapolis, and Toledo will start the season off 1-0. Looking at the box score, the bats were really not that good. Only 6 hits. Tim Beckham had the home run. Doubles for Beckham, Tebow, and Brian Hayes. Adonis Medina pitched really well. The bullpen did not. Looks like on paper Andrews pitched well, but he did not. Procopio did good, and then obviously Salas blew it at the end, and he will obviously get the loss. As now we move on to the Major League team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we are playing pretty well so far, not even gonna lie. This is a team who was not competitive last year, and we are 7-6, above 500. I know we're only 13 games into the season. A little bit too early to talk, but you can't really complain. Here's a look at the numbers. There are some surprises. Josh Bell only hitting .224, I think that was. He's not playing well. Dylan Carlson is a weird one. He's hitting .261, which on paper does not look bad, but he's actually playing terribly. No, only 3 extra base hits, no home runs. His on-base percentage is also .261, which means he's not drawing a walk yet. Slugging at .326, OPS at .587. That is really, really bad. So other than the batting average, really not liking what I'm seeing from Dylan Carlson. O'Neal Cruz, the other rookie, has been outstanding. Francisco Mejia has been great. And then some of the platoon guys like Colin Moran and Chris Davis have also been good. However, a few of the bench bats like Cole Tucker, Matt Duffy are not doing too well. Looking at the bullpen, everybody's pitching well except for Jordan Yamamoto. Even Mitch Keller has a sub-1 ERA. That shocked me when I first saw that. And then the bullpen, outside of Rodriguez and Adrube Ramos, the bullpen is looking really good. Ramos has an ERA at 15, by the way. The spring training meme seems like he's still pitching pretty badly as the Pirates head out to St. Louis to take on the 8-5 St. Louis Cardinals. Here's a look at both lineups for tonight's game from 1 to 9. Off the mound for the Cardinals would be the righty, Tommy Parsons. On the season so far for Parsons in 2 starts, he's pitched in 10 innings, allowing, I guess that would be 6 runs. Got the no decision in both games, so, I mean, he hasn't been terrible, but 5.4 ERA, 1.6 whip. Not anything to write home about, as here's Josh Bell. He's hit for power like normal this year, but the contact has not been there. He is going to rip a single into center, so I guess that is encouraging. However, that's all that would happen here on the top of the first, as Gregory Polanco will ground out to second. Colton Wand makes the play as we move to the bottom of the first. Jordan Yamamoto on the mound today for Pittsburgh, of course, acquired in an offseason trade with the Marlins, and he is not pitching too well up to this point. The only pitcher of the starting rotation who's struggling as the first batter of the inning, Colton Wand rips a single. There's Harrison Bader, my blonde locks brethren. He is going to strike out. So now 2 on, or actually 1 on, 2 outs for Tommy Edman. An unusual cleanup hitter, but it works out here as he rips a triple, and St. Louis is going to be on the board. And then Paul DeJong rips a single into center. For whatever reason, he decides to go 2. I don't know why, and he is going to be out by a mile. Like, what kind of decision-making is that? He drives in a run, so it's a successful at bat, but I'm still rather confused as we move on to the bottom of the second. Here is Dylan Carlson. That ball is deep, and it's out of here. The first career Major League home run for Dylan Carlson. I'm surprised it came this late. He has a really good bat, and fitting that it comes against the Cardinals. He was a member of the Cardinals organization, traded to the Pirates last season in a 3-team deal that sent the Cardinals Trey Mancini. And based on Mancini's play last year, I don't think St. Louis regrets it at all. He has been a stud. And then the other rookie, Oneil Cruz, is going to rip a single in the right. So a good start for both rookies in today's game. And then here is Francisco Mejia, the catcher. He's going to get that one into the bullpen. And the Pirates will take the lead. Mejia's 4th home run of the season. He's hit the ball outstanding up to this point. He has become the full everyday catcher. Stallings is now just the permanent backup. As now we move to bottom of the 3rd. Pittsburgh up 3-2. There's a strikeout of Colton Wong. And then Paul Goldschmidt going to go down looking. Goldschmidt and Bell have been competing for a while for the top first baseman in the NL. There is Oneil Cruz. Better double check that swing. And then Mejia fishing for something in the dirt. And we move on to the 5th. Here's Matt Carpenter. That one gets past the glove of Kevin Newman for a single. Carpenter was almost out at first, too. And then the inning would end as the catcher, Diego Grullon, the Yadier Molina replacement, would strike out. And we move on to the bottom of the 5th. Yamamoto up. Should have been a routine ground out, but an awful throw at 3rd from Matt Carpenter will get Yamamoto to make it safely to 2nd. Would the Pirates drive him in? The answer is no. Brian Reynolds going to ground out. Pretty slow start to the season for Reynolds. He's only hitting about 260, which isn't terrible, but for his standards, you would like to see more as Harrison Bader rips it to 3rd. It would be caught. Outside of that disastrous first inning, Jordan Yamamoto has pitched pretty well tonight, as there is Dylan Carlson ripping the single. He's hit for contact well this season. That's about it. Inning would end as Oneil Cruz grounds out to 2nd. Score remains 3-2, where we head to the bottom of the 6th, where things get interesting. Paul Goldschmidt going to start the inning off of a single out into left field. And just like that, the Cardinals have an early base runner. Next batter, Tommy Edman, rips a very weak shot. He will be safe. So 2-1, no outs for DeYoung, who is going to strike out. So now 1 out for Matt Carpenter. Single into center. Run will come home to score, and St. Louis will tie the game up at 3. 2 outs now for Diego Grullon, acquired last season in a midseason trade with the Phillies. That'll be a single, and he's going to 2nd for no reason and will be out. The Cardinals need to teach their players about base running. These guys do not know when to go, but still a successful bat for Grullon, scoring a run and giving St. Louis the lead as Cody Whitley on the mound now for the Cardinals. He's going to strike out Francisco Mejia. And we move to the bottom of the 7th. Emmanuel Clase in for the Pirates. Clase struggled last year, but pitched really well during spring training, and so far this year has been outstanding. 2.25 ERA. He's going to get a nice strikeout there, and then Colton Wong would strike out as well, and then so would Harrison Bader. Clase's pitches just rip. They are lightning fast. As we move on to the top of the 8th, the lefty, Andrew Miller, the 35-year-old veteran, into the game, as Brian Reynolds rips that one to short. Nice play from DeYoung, but he would be safe. And then here's Josh Bell now, going to rip a single out into right. 2-1, 2 outs. Reynolds barely safe at 2nd. Or actually 1 out for Polanco, who would do nothing. Then Carlson would be walked, so the bases would be loaded for Oneil Cruz, who strikes out. We move to the bottom of the 8th. Clase still pitching, getting strikeouts like it's nothing, and we move to the 9th. Giovanni Gallegos in for the Cardinals, 5 save appearances, and he's gotten 5 saves. Can he get a 6th? First batter of the frame, Francisco Mejia, gonna rip a single into right. So that would bring up Adam Frazier. The Pirates had an interesting opportunity, maybe putting in a guy like Colin Moran, who's played a lot better. They decided not to. They would keep Frazier rather than opt for the pinch hitter, and that was a bad decision. Frazier grounds into a double play, and now the game is on the heels of the 9-hole hitter. The Pirates are going to put Chris Davis in, because you might as well swing for the fences at this point. Davis gets that one high and deep in the left center, and it would be caught. Just a few feet shy of the fence, and the Cardinals going to win a close game down to the wire by a final score of 4-3. Nice win here for St. Louis, and the Pirates will go down to 7-7. Cardinals now up to 9-5. The bats were meh for Pittsburgh, not bad, but I wouldn't say they were great either. Jordan Yamamoto going to get the loss outside of the first and sixth innings. I'm happy with his performance. And then Clase shut the door in the last two innings. Shame it didn't result in a win. The Cardinals' bats weren't great either. Once again, they were solid, but nothing spectacular. Only one extra base hit. Parsons gets the win. And then the bullpen did an excellent job those last three innings to finish it off. So he would do some simulating, 11-8. Second in the division, a game behind the Cardinals, and currently tied with the Brewers for the first wild card spot. So the team is still playing really, really well. Going to go over stats and stuff next episode, but that's going to end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like button and subscribe. Deuces.